helps to replenish muscle tissue turnover. Now all that basically means is muscle, this stuff that allows you to do things like pick things up and pick your kid up and push things, you have muscle, right? Hello and welcome to another vlog on YouTube and podcast on Spotify by the Fit Minds podcast coach, Mariah Jean here. Today you're on another cooking show with me. For those who watch on YouTube, it's not really that special, but I'm just making my chicken pesto pasta veggie dish because my daughter will eat it and I will eat it and my partner will eat it, and that is a winner in our house. So today I want to talk about something that has been on my mind for some time now, and it is, why can't you stick to your diet? There's a lot of shame and guilt associated with these feelings around dieting, and honestly, I'm doing this podcast because I've had multiple conversations with women. Almost every single inquiry and consult and sign-on that I've done, where especially mothers can't stick to their diet, and it's not for the reason that you think. They think that they're lacking in motivation, they think that they are not disciplined, they have no self-control, and they just can't stick to the diet because of food noise and the likes of food focus and just being a failure, right? We have this idea in our minds that if we can't stick to our diet that we have failed, and we don't know why. Why can't I stick to it? How come someone else can do it? How come she can do it? How come it's just so easy for everybody else to lose weight and to diet? And this is where a lot of women are unfortunately being pushed in the direction of weight loss medications when they don't need to be. And it's because, penny drop moment, we need to start respecting the fact that nutrition qualifications and dietetic qualifications, like any other degree, actually have worth to be able to help you get out of this state that you're in. Now, the main reason that you can't stick to your diet, I'm going to just go in and say it at the start of the podcast, is that you are under eating. You are not eating enough during the day. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to start eating like a horse and eat everything in sight, but you are actually under consuming mostly a couple of food groups. And I'll talk about that and give you a couple of tips on how to stop doing that. Number one problem I see, the most common, is that women are not consuming. Don't check out when I tell you this, because so many women check out. And it's like, hold on, if this hasn't been working for you, doing what you're currently doing, why do you continue to do it? Why are you ignoring the advice that a professional is giving you? So listen in. You are under eating your carbohydrates. For some reason, women have got it in their minds that they need to stop eating carbs. What do you think this is? This is pasta. Now, this is spelt pasta that I'm using. Don't tell me, I just put on weight when I have pasta, I put on weight when I have bread, I put on weight. No, you don't. You have been blaming carbohydrates for so long when it's not the carbs. We know that. It's the lack of them during the day. So, and at night, right? You are trying to cut your carbohydrates too much. Carbohydrates serve a role in our life, and that is to maintain blood sugar. Now, you are not insulin resistant. This is a load of crap that is being thrown around the fitness industry, unless you quite literally have diabetes, and oftentimes, depending on the type of diabetes, it is reversible. You are not insulin resistant. You just don't understand portions. And so instead of understanding how much pasta you need to eat, or how much rice you need to eat, or how much potato you need to eat, you are guessing. And so because of that, you just cut carbs out altogether, because you think to yourself, I gain weight when I eat carbs. Let's say you eat a massive bowl of pasta. The difference in portions for pasta can vary greatly. And that's the thing with carbohydrates. You just need to know how much of each one of them you need to eat. Now, you're going to say to me, that's all good and well, Mariah, but I don't know how much I need to eat. That is my job. My job is to teach you, and not just teach you to the extent where you don't know how to do this on your own, but one day, lit the wrong stove. One day, you'll be able to do it on your own one day. That is our goal as nutritionists. We don't want to teach you as much as we know, but we want to teach you enough so that you can go away off on your own and understand what portions of pasta you need for fat loss, what portions of pasta you need for maintenance, and what portions of pasta you need for weight gain. And there may be some people listening to this podcast that want to gain weight. Most of the time, 95% of my clientele are weight loss clients. There is a small percentage that want to grow muscle. Now, not all carbohydrates are created equal, okay? So pasta, rice, potato, bread. Let's use them for examples. When we compare portion sizes of pasta, bread, rice, and potato, the smartest carbohydrate that you should be eating in a larger volume, so a larger amount, is going to be potato, if you're dieting. And I don't see many of you eating potato at all. You're sending me your meal plans that you have yourself on, and there is no carbs. Breakfast has no carbs. Lunch has no carbs. Oftentimes it's breakfast you don't eat until 10 o'clock, and then you have, Greek yogurt and fruit. It's so common. You're thinking, oh, this sounds like me. Yeah, because it's all of you. Except if you've obviously got the nutrition advice behind you, awesome. And then lunch is a salad with some tuna. And yes, you guessed it, you're not having any carbs again. So see this recurring theme we've got going on here? And you're doing real well. And then you get to the afternoon and you're like, why do I feel like shit and feel like I need to eat sugar, have more coffee, blah. Because you're trying to be too good. And it's really interesting because cutting out carbs doesn't mean you're being good, but your mind says, if I eat carbs, I'm gonna put on weight. So instead of just reducing the total amount of calories you're eating from mostly carbs and fats, okay, you're just cutting them out altogether. Our blood needs carbs to keep our blood sugar up. It's kind of like a balloon in the air. And you can imagine that balloon all day long. I should do a reel about this. We're trying to keep the balloon up, okay? Now, when the balloon goes too low, blood sugar drops too low, what do you think happens? Pops, right? We end up in a position where we're crashing. When your blood sugar is low, it sends large amounts of hunger hormones. So this is when people go, my hormones are stuffed. Your hormones aren't stuffed. You aren't eating enough carbohydrates. And then you get hunger hormones as a result of that. Not because it's a magical thing that's happening inside your body without your control. It's because you're not eating enough carbs. So your hunger hormones soar through the roof when your blood sugar drops. So when the balloon hits the ground and blood sugar is in the ground, and trust me, it takes a couple hours, and blood sugar is really low, you then end up getting hunger hormones, cravings, because it's not just the hunger hormones that are skyrocketing, but it's also the cravings with it. Why? Because your body is desperately seeking out carbohydrates, and that is what resurfaces as sugar cravings. Sometimes salt cravings as well. It depends, obviously, if you're not getting enough salt in your diet, that will happen. And then we end up in a really shitty situation. When blood sugar is on the ground, it's very difficult to get it back up again quickly unless you have quick release carbohydrates, which is things like lollies and chocolate. That is why we end up reaching for it, because it digests really quickly. Pasta, potato, it does digest well, slowly, not too slow, but slow enough. Potato is the most slow digesting. But the problem is when we eat that meal, if we only have carbs at the end of the day in our dinner, let's say we have some potato or rice, we give ourselves some carbs because we can be good all day, and you have that, it actually takes time for that sugar from that slow digesting carbohydrate to be released into your system and your blood sugar. So then you end up with this nice sustainable balloon is up in the air and off we go. The issue with that, if your blood sugar is already on the ground, the balloon has already dropped, see what I mean here? Then you try and put complex carbs in, and the time it takes for that balloon to come back up again is quite slow. So then you start craving more sugar because your blood sugar still isn't where it needs to be. More hunger signals, it's like, come on, keep going, and basically your body is signaling, give me more. And that's where the binging comes in, okay? The second you eat the food, it's like, okay, awesome, you've finally fed me, now give me more. And it's just uncontrollable. Now, when you're dieting, the carbohydrates, the types of carbohydrates matter. For some people, they can diet fairly well with brown rice, white rice. They don't seem to be too bothered. And everybody's appetite and their comfort levels differs greatly. For some people, eating potato for every lunch and dinner is just a little bit too filling, too much volume, and they can't cope with it. And they don't need it. For others, they need the potato every single meal because they have a high amount of food focus. This can also basically differ depending on the amount of time you've been dieting for. And this is the other common reason why you can't stick to your diet. It's not just the underconsumption of carbohydrates, but the length of dieting. How long have you been trying to do this for? And honestly, so many women come to me and they tell me they've been in this state for 6 months plus, even sometimes years. No wonder you're in this perpetual cycle of restrict, restrict, binge, restrict, restrict, binge. And that could be every 3 or 4 days. It could be every day. The cycle could be every week. We don't know, but it makes you feel like shit, doesn't it? So we've established that we know that the important thing we need to do is put some carbohydrates back into our day. What that does is allows for blood sugar to balance sustainably across the day every time you eat. So imagine that balloon. We've got the balloon up in the air, and then blood sugar starts to reduce and dip a little bit between meals, because that's going to happen as you digest and you don't have any more blood sugar left. And then you eat again a couple of hours later and that balloon goes back up again. What we don't want is that balloon dropping to the ground, because that's where the hunger hormones go crazy. So eating regularly every 2 to 3 hours is my advice for keeping blood sugar stable. Every 2 to 3 hours, you should be having some form of carbohydrates. It doesn't have to be a lot, but for example, in your breakfast, if you're currently eating Greek yogurt, berries, and no carbohydrates, stop doing that. There is no evidence to support that fasting or no carbs in the morning is better for fat loss. Bullshit. Makes you feel like crap and you can't think straight at work. We don't want that for you. And you deal with kids as well. You don't want to be doing that on no carbs. Your brain doesn't work properly and you hurt yourself all the time. You make mistakes, the safety of your children is at risk as well because you're trying to do low carb. So we don't want to do low carb or no carb. We want to do moderate carbohydrates. Balanced blood sugar means next to no cravings at nighttime. There's another tip I'll give you in a second. There's 2 more tips that will help. So different macronutrients do different things. We know carbs give you energy. They help to fill you up and they slow down your digestion a little bit too, right? So even vegetables, they're a carbohydrate. Fruit, that's a carbohydrate. So now we're establishing different foods fall into different food groups like protein, fats, and carbs. Now, protein is a macronutrient that comes from chicken breast, meat, egg whites, yogurt, animal products mostly. And we want to try and aim for lean, meaning not very fatty. So I've got chicken breast here, cuts of meat, because animal fats are not processed very well by the human digestive tract. Hence why things like sausages and bacon and chicken thigh, they're not terrible, but they're not as beneficial for weight loss because they come with the added fats from calories, but they also can increase your cholesterol. This is why even sometimes if you are doing really well with your diet and you're choosing to eat things like bacon every day and you're having fatty cuts of meat, you can still have abnormal blood results come back with high cholesterol. So that's a whole nother topic. So what we want to try and do is make sure we're getting protein coming from pretty lean protein sources. Now, if you're a vegetarian, this pumpkin is very difficult to cut. There we go. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan, then by all means, disregard that. There are going to be vegetarian and vegan sources of protein, such as beans, legumes, chickpeas, edamame, soy, tofu, the list goes on. So now you need to, obviously, that's a whole nother topic in itself, but you need to make sure that you're getting enough of those. Very difficult to get enough protein as a vegetarian or a vegan. Not impossible, I'm gonna get another knife, but it is very difficult. So now we've established we need protein. Now, before you check out, don't check out, guys. Stay focused. We need protein to do a couple of things. Carbohydrate doesn't just balance blood sugar, it provides energy. And it means that we don't feel like shit by the end of the day, lackluster. We just don't know why we feel that way. It's going to be the lack of carbs. So protein helps to replenish muscle tissue turnover. Now, all that basically means is muscle, this stuff that allows you to do things like pick things up and pick your kid up and push things. You have muscle, right? And that allows you to see definition. If we don't eat enough protein, we slowly but surely lose that muscle over time. It's called atrophy, as well as if we don't engage in things like resistance training. This is why you need to go to the gym, you keep your muscle. Muscle is really important for strength and being able to cut my pumpkin. So There are going to be many things, for example, if you have a low muscle mass, that you struggle doing, such as picking up your kid. And you're going to fall over more often, you're going to roll your ankle more often, and as you get older, for women, you will end up dislocating your hip and falling down the stairs, breaking your hip, whatever. Injuries are far more common for those who have lower muscle mass. So protein serves that purpose. It's not just about getting jacked, it's actually about protecting your body, and having a Pilates princess body isn't going to get you there, okay? Because there's not enough resistance in Pilates. So protein serves the other purpose of keeping us full. Satiated. Satiation is a word for fullness, meaning this stuff, chicken, breast. So if you don't eat a lot of meat, start eating some more vegetarian proteins, if you don't like meat, and yogurt and eggs, or if you're vegan, you're going to have to go a bit deeper with that and have things like quinoa, etc. But chicken breast is a perfect example of a lean protein. Extra lean beef mince, egg whites, write these down, low-fat yogurt, low-fat Greek yogurt, high-protein yogurt, tuna, white fish. Salmon's good, but it's not super high in protein, but it's fantastic because it has lots of good fats in it. And this helps to keep us fuller for longer. Now, see this bit here, focus on this bit. Feeling hungry all the time is not a sign that you're losing body fat. So for those of you who are trying to eat as little as possible, you're eating really small meals, you're not eating a ton of veggies, you're not eating enough protein, definitely not eating enough carbohydrates. Those small meals that you keep making yourself because you think the smaller they are, the better, and if you don't feel full, that's a good thing, you're wrong. Feeling full is a very difficult sensation to get used to after you've been so used to not eating very much for a long time. But trust me when I say, the eating not very much hasn't got you very far, has it? If you've been going this entire time eating like a rabbit, snacking away at the smallest things possible and not actually having hearty meals with vegetables, carbohydrates and chicken because you're scared of being full, we've got a bigger problem at hand here. And the problem is that you associate fullness from wholesome meals with fat gain. If that were the case, then everybody who was doing this and eating big filling meals like this would be overweight. I'm not. I'm going to eat a decent big bowl of chicken, broccoli, pumpkin, carrot, and pasta, and pesto, okay? The most common thing I see lately is, and this is not to hate on anybody who is overweight, or I don't even like using that terminology, just anyone who feels uncomfortable with their body weight and doesn't feel healthy, okay? The most common thing I see lately is, I don't like feeling too full. And then when we dive deeper into that, I'm like, why? Because I feel like that it will make me gain weight. And also, if they happen to be insecure about their tummy area, then it tends to be a thing that highlights that area because obviously food fills out the gut. The interesting thing is about dieting is smart dieting doesn't mean you need to torture yourself. And honestly, I've never seen someone do it successfully by torturing themselves. People with eating disorders will eat tiny amounts of food, lose muscle, and over time, if they succeed at it and don't end up with bulimia or binge eating disorder, then maybe they'll lose weight, but then they will develop a horrible relationship with food. They're always hungry, they're always thinking about food, and they just get defeated. Imagine what it would be like feeling full of nutritious foods that don't make you gain weight, that allow you to lose weight. You don't need to be hungry all the time, so get rid of that idea out of your head and get used to the idea that feeling full from good shit is actually the real way to diet. Now, it's going to take a lot of effort for all of the nutritionists and dietitians out there for us to slowly re-educate the world, especially with trends and fitness trends on Instagram, TikTok, social media that completely defy everything that we know to be factual and evidence-based and reliable and effective. The issue is that everybody and anyone can go out there and say what they want on social media platforms that don't have any qualifications. So be careful where you're reading this stuff. If it's in magazines, if it's online forums, if it's on TikTok, and they do not have a nutrition qualification or they can't prove that they have one, you need to run for the hills. You need to stop taking advice from places where you wouldn't take advice for any other reason, right? Would you get legal advice from TikTok or Instagram or Facebook Would you, if you need to call Triple O, would you go on TikTok and message an influencer because you needed their help? No, you'd go to the police station. Okay? Would you, if you had a growth or you had some sort of illness and you needed a medication, maybe antibiotics if you had an infection, would you go to your local drug dealer and go, hey, can I have some drugs to help me out with this? No, you wouldn't. So why are you taking nutrition advice and dieting advice from random strangers on the internet that don't have qualifications? That's how you've ended up in this position. You've saved a meal plan from some random person on the internet, and then you've just kind of stuck with it and thought in your mind, this must be the way I need to lose weight. So let's restructure that day with not having enough carbohydrates. Your yogurt and berries or yogurt and fruit in the morning needs to have some oats, okay? Don't be scared of oats. They're not gonna make you gain weight. Some oats, whether it be a quarter or a third of a cup. Okay, so have that with your yogurt and berries. Maybe some shredded coconut. The fats, I haven't even talked about fats yet. Fats help to slow down digestion as well, and they're great for vitamin absorption and for helping you pass fiber, which is from veggies, through your GI tract, and grains. So fiber comes from those. Talk about fiber in a second. So, yogurt, berries, oats, for breakfast. Quarter cup to a third of a cup. Morning tea snack, maybe an apple and an LCM bar or a little muesli bar, or something like that. Something small, you don't need something big. That's when you can have small stuff, right? Is your snacks. Don't do that with your main meals, it doesn't work. Lunch, if you're having tuna and salad, double the amount of tuna you're having. You're probably having one of those small tins. Have a 180 tin, it's not gonna make you fat, it's tuna. Have more of it, get used to the idea of feeling full for lunch. It's not a bad thing, you don't need to save your calories for dinner. That is silly because then you're just going back into that binge cycle. The salad will help to fill you up, it's slow digesting, but without carbohydrates and without protein, it's not gonna really make you feel very full at all. You need to pair them together. So salad, spinach, tomato, cucumber, carrot, go crazy, go ham, have all the salad. Then you wanna add in some form of carbohydrates. Now for a lot of people, rice is easy, but it does digest a little faster than potato. But things like sweet potato and potato are fantastic for someone who feels really hungry during the day, and you can have things like brown rice in, let's say, 100, 125 gram portion with that salad. Pair it with a quarter of an avocado or a very, very small handful of nuts, because nuts are very calorie dense as well. Okay? Dressing, 99% fat-free dressing. Then you get to the afternoon. You want to have some rice cakes with some peanut butter. Don't fear carbs, rice cakes are perfectly fine. Another piece of fruit, a banana, or whatever piece of fruit you decide is best. Maybe a protein shake as well, because obviously we want to have another hit of protein so that you don't then binge by the time it's dinner time, and then obviously after that as well, keeping you fuller for longer. You're following me? Every 2 to 3 hours, breakfast, morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, the standard old same shit we used to do, we're just complicating it now. And then come dinner time, you might have your steak, potato and veggies, or something similar. You could have chicken pesto pasta. Pasta, you want to go for about a 30 gram portion dry weight. And with potato, you'd be surprised, you can actually have about 150 to 200 grams or even 300 grams, but 150 to 200 grams of potato in one sitting, especially Spud Light potato, it's really good. And then you can have some sort of nice, I don't know, some sort of Nando's Peronaise sauce with your steak, potato and veggies. And then for dessert, you can have a chocolate protein pudding, otherwise a chocolate paddle pop. Now this is a very generic kind of laid out day. But if you think about it, if you reverse back through the day and you think about all the carbohydrates I ate, those small amounts with each meal and snack, that kept that balloon up, that blood sugar up. The fats dosed in every meal as well. Coconut in breakfast, morning tea, not too super important, but you can swap it around if you want to. Lunch, bit of avocado or a small handful of nuts inside your salad. Afternoon tea, peanut butter, and then dinner, that Nando's Peronaise. So see how I'm adding small amounts of fats into everything and small amounts of carbs into everything. But the base of my meals is protein, veggies, and then we add in the carbs and the fats, yeah? Now you're following me? And then we get to dessert time. Because you've done this, you've sustained that balloon, that blood sugar up high enough throughout the day so that you don't end up with the balloon on the ground. You get to the evening and after dinner, and all of these foods, even from what's from breakfast, from lunch, those slow digesting carbs are still in your gut. That is a good thing, because what that does is it lines the gut and stops the hunger hormones from increasing, from your body saying, I'm still hungry, and then you don't binge on those processed foods as much. This is a massive revelation for anyone who listens to this podcast, and I'll finish on the fiber note as well. This stuff is full of fiber. Broccoli, pumpkin, fruit, full of fiber and water. It helps to hydrate us, the water in it, and the fiber is fantastic for our digestive tract. If you're not pooping properly, you're probably not having enough veggies or fruit, okay? That is another reason why you may not be able to stick to your diet. You're probably just not eating enough veggies and fruit. The recommendations is 200 to 300 grams of fruit, different types, try for 2 to 3 different types, and 300 to 500 grams of veg. It does differ slightly with different variations and different versions of this. Sometimes people say 400 to 500 grams of veg, but this is a roundabout estimate. Again, around 5 different types of vegetables. So all that looks like is maybe 2 or 3 in your lunch and 2 or 3 in your dinner, okay? Then you can put fruit in your breakfast, fruit in 2 of your snacks, and you've already hit those targets. If you're not eating enough veggies, you will know because your plate will look really small. Big plates of veggies does not equal increasing body fat. Veggies aren't very calorie dense, it's just they don't have a lot of energy in them. They've got lots of water and lots of fiber and lots of micronutrients, which is also part of the reason why you might be feeling like shit while trying to stick to your diet. You don't have to feel crap, you don't have to be hungry all the time, you can be satiated and full. People who stay fit and lean all year round eat. They eat decent amounts of food and they don't crave other stuff because they're eating enough of this stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's okay to have little treats here and now and then, but you won't feel like you're eating a whole block of chocolate if you've already had this stuff in your day. All right, that's it from me. Podcast is done. If you want me to talk about any other topics, let me know. I've been really enjoying just I suppose like a change in approach lately. I used to be very biochemistry focused and now I'm really just trying to get back to basics for people to understand basic nutrition and then be able to implement it into their lives and into their families' lives. And if you don't believe me, I've had hundreds, if not thousands of women lose weight, improve their health, improve their blood markers, improve their digestion, improve their hormones, start to conceive if they've been struggling to conceive, and the list goes on after working with me. Only a couple of days to a week is where it starts to happen. All right, thanks a lot. Looking forward to doing another podcast for you soon.